Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live webinar for the Investor Agent Training Program and Flipping for Profits Without the Risk, Rental Problems Without the Pain, and Turning Rental Problems into Real Estate Profits. That latter one is the Property Manager Program that's now available. Wholesaling is in the process of being edited. We'll likely have that in the first quarter next year. But all the material's been developed. We've had it for some time. We just had to compile it and produce it. It's being edited now and should be published by sometime in the first quarter next year. So in any case, I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to all the new folks, okay? If you are new, if this is your first webinar, just a little bit of housekeeping. You are all muted by default by the system. We from time to time will unmute you just one at a time, because if you try to have a lot of people on audio at the same time, it can be very almost unmanageable. So the way you post questions is to post them into the question box, and I'll read them out loud, and then we'll cover the question. Okay. The other thing too is this: you always want to let me know what subjects you want to discuss in advance. I don't mind taking requests live online. I don't mind that, but a lot of times we already have an agenda lined up, because people will tell us throughout the week, here's some things I want to cover in the weekly webinar. However, yes, you can always do Q&A. Matter of fact, a lot of this is going to be live. It's going to be Q&A between you and I, but related to the subject at hand. So the next day, you will get a recording of this. In fact, some of you listening and watching this are going to be doing it from a recording if you aren't making it here live. Again, use your question box. A little bit of other housekeeping coming up here. The next webinar is going to be next Tuesday at, it's Tuesday the 22nd, is that right? Or is that Monday? Hang on one second, let me flip to back to my calendar here. Let me just do this real quick so everybody knows what we're dealing with here. Next webinar, yes, is next Tuesday. The one after that is going to be the following Monday, which is the 28th of November. And then heading into December, we'll have one on Tuesday, the 6th of December, Wednesday, the 14th of December, and Tuesday, the 20th of December. And then we will not have any webinar Christmas week. We'll pick back up again in January. So in any case, that's the webinar schedule coming up. I will be in, I'm in Atlanta this week. Next week, of course, we're off for Thanksgiving. I will be in Washington, D.C. the night of the webinar. The following week, I'll be back in the Tampa, St. Pete area of Florida. The week after that, I'll be in Alabama. And then the 2 weeks prior to Christmas, the week of the 12th and the week of the 19th, I will be back in the Atlanta area. So if you're in any of those areas, particularly those of you in the Atlanta area, and you want to meet with me, you want me to come speak at your investor forum or your local workshop, please let me know at least a week in advance, and I'll be glad to come meet you if the schedule permits it. So, so keep that in mind. And if you're in the Floridian in the Tampa area, Tampa, St. Pete area, that week after Thanksgiving, I'll be down there the entire week, and I could possibly come speak at one of your local group meetings if you'd like me to. So keep in mind that I always tell people my schedule. It's always posted online, and so that way you know where I am. Okay. So, in any case, let's see here. Oh, we got a something to say, Michael. Okay, I will be in West Palm Beach November 20th. Okay, hey, that's right. You've got some family down there. Your sister's down there. So have fun while you're down there. Wish I could be there that week, but I'll be up in the frozen north. Actually, it's not that cold. Okay, let's go ahead and get into tonight's subject here. A little bit more of an advanced subject, and the reason is many of you are now have your feet firmly planted in production. You've got multiple transactions rolling in. You're hiring your virtual assistants, your admin people. Some of you have full teams built, showing agents and so forth. So what I want to do is go over the basic structure of how you actually grow. And a lot of people struggle with that because we're so used to operating independently. When it comes time to expand, we often get in our own way. And if that's your story, don't feel bad, because that's the story for most people, until finally the pain gets so great that they have to do something, and you have to let go some of your responsibilities and delegate to someone else. Now, this is very important. If you notice, um, I use the word delegate, and also I use the word responsibility. So what that means is you never give away control. You only give away responsibilities, and you really don't give them away. You assign them. You delegate responsibilities to other people. You always maintain control. There's a big difference there. So responsibility means you delegate the responsibility of someone sending out letters, for example. Okay, but you control who the letters go to, and you control the content of the letter. You just don't have to do the nitty-gritty detail legwork. Okay, you can even have an inside sales agent receive all the incoming calls from your letters, and those people work on a script. Those folks work on a script. They have the responsibility of receiving the calls, returning calls if someone leaves a voicemail, and using that script. But you determine what the script is. So you see what I'm saying? You're controlling the language that's being used. You're controlling who's being assigned what task, but the actual individual tasks, the responsibilities for those are in the hands of other individuals. So in any case, very important distinction there, and I really want you to focus on that. And the next thing I want you to do is, if you have paper handy, if you don't, please get some paper handy, and pen or pencil, okay? Because the first thing I want you to do tonight is draw an oval. And I'll show you, I'm going to get to it here in a minute, but for right now, just imagine an oval. Draw an oval in the middle of your paper, and emanating out from the oval are going to be 8 lines. You're going to basically do a plus sign, so lines going north, south, east, and west, and then you're going to draw 4 more lines at the angles, at the basically the 45-degree angles. Okay, so maybe imagine another plus sign being overlaid on top of the one you just drew, but turned 45 degrees. So in other words, it's like a wagon wheel with 8 spokes. Okay, and at the end of those spokes, you're going to draw squares. All right, and by the way, we're going to talk about the different ways to leverage yourself and grow. However, you don't have to do all 8 of them. The beautiful thing about this is you get to choose. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is, in the middle circle, in the middle oval, that's you. You can put the word me, write your name in there, whatever the case is. In most cases, you're going to be the investor agent in the middle of that oval. You're the person who either is investing now or wants to invest, but more importantly, you're serving other investors through the use of your license, okay? And that makes you an investor agent. So you put that in the middle there, all right? And then going out from one of the boxes, just pick one. Let's just say it's the upper left-hand corner box. Put the word flip. And in the upper right-hand corner box, put the word wholesale. And as you can imagine, you can start going around these different boxes and labeling them differently. So the top box, the arrow going straight due north, that box, I would put in that box the word invest yourself. That's you investing for yourself, because that's the peak of it. Ultimately, the ultimate goal is for all of us here is to put you in a position where you can invest yourself, okay? Now on due east to the right, you're going to write the word landlord in there. That's people buying rentals, okay? And on the opposite side of the oval going due west, you're going to write the word property management, okay? So do that, and then the arrow facing due south, straight down, in that box, write the word referral, okay? That's good. Now on the one facing southwest, the one between property management and referral, that box is going to say owner occupant, okay? And the last box, which is southeast, the one between referral and landlord, is going to say team, build team, and that's what we're going to spend more time on tonight, okay? First thing is we're going to review this multiple stream scenario and discuss how this actually looks and what you actually do to make sure it happens and how it operates, okay? So first things first, we want to talk about leverage. I always go over this in class towards the end of class, because I want people to see that this isn't just about you serving one type of investor. It's not just about you serving only flippers or serving only landlords. You can certainly serve both. I think you should have at least 3 streams of income. Okay. Now, what I do want to focus on first, though, is really the concept of leverage. So you're in the middle. You're in the middle of the oval. You're the investor agent, and let's say you decide to work with a flipper. We'll talk about flipping first. All right. You identify. You do your marketing. You attract the people who are flipping homes. Could be teachers. Could be orthodontists. Could be any of the military service folks. Engineers, what have you. Okay. And they want to flip a home. So you get them in service. Okay, the first thing you do is you serve that flipper. You help them find the property that they're going to buy that eventually will be remodeled and resold for profit. So you're serving that person. All right, I'm not going to go over all the details because we cover that in other parts of the program, but essentially you get your flipper up and running. All right, of course you might have multiple flippers, but let's just take one for example. So that person buys a house. Now, depending where you are in the U.S. or Canada, you could be buying a house for as little as $10,000 or even $5,000 in still parts of Detroit, okay? Or you could be buying a house for as much as $1 million, like people up in Toronto and out in the San Francisco Bay Area, okay? And that's right, people are flipping homes at that price range in those areas. I know that seems a little extreme for some of you because your average home price is around $200,000, but everything is relative. The same principles, the same fundamentals apply. It's just the numbers are different. The dollar amounts are different. That's all it is. So in any case, back to the example. Here's the easiest way to describe leverage. You work with the flipper to buy the property initially. You get a commission that it might be a smaller size commission because, of course, the house, if it needs to be remodeled or rehab, is likely going to be less than other properties in the area. Okay. But have faith, because once that property is remodeled and turned back onto the market, you're going to be the listing agent for that property. It's going to be sold for more money than the investor originally paid for it. So you make a much larger commission on the back end. Okay, so that's a clear example of leverage. You're leveraging the relationship to get at least 2 commissions. Okay, now it goes deeper than that. And the reason is if you're pretty good at your marketing, which you will learn to do throughout the program, you may in fact attract the buyer of the property after it's been remodeled and placed back on the market. In other words, in the case of a single family home, once the investor remodels the property, puts it back on the market, the most likely candidate to purchase it is a person or a family looking to live there. Okay, because it looks pretty nice. It's remodeled, new carpeting, new cabinetry, the whole 9 yards. Okay, well, if you do a good job of marketing, you should be able to attract those buyers to you directly. So now what that means is you potentially get a 3rd commission. Remember, the first commission is when the investor first bought the property. Second commission is you on the listing side when it goes to be resold. And the 3rd commission is on the relisting side. The buyer comes to you because they like your marketing. And that does happen, by the way, about 30% of the time. Of all the listings that sell, not all listings, only listings that sell, it turns out about 1/3 of them, almost 1/3, are sold by the listing agent. How about that? That's 3 commissions for basically one relationship, one set of activities. And as you might imagine, it even goes one layer deeper, okay? Because the 3rd commission, which is the buyer buying the property so that they can live in it, sometimes they have to actually sell another property first. Maybe they're already living somewhere and they're moving up and they don't have a realtor yet. You could get that listing, okay? So essentially, just from that one core relationship and buying in one buyer, leverage, you could have a total of 4 commissions because you did one thing. You chose to serve a flipper, all right? So if you look at that diagram, if you look at the chart that you drew, what I want you to do is put a little check mark in the flip box in the color, like say green, for example. Or if you don't have colors, just put the number 1 in the flip box, and then put the number 2 in the flip box, and down in the owner-occupant box, put the numbers 3 and 4. And that shows you the leverage of working with a flipper and how that translates into you potentially getting owner-occupant business as well. So now you don't have to compete for listings. You've got listings coming in that are essentially in the owner-occupant world, because once the property, in this case, is remodeled and put back on the market, you're listing it to attract owner-occupants. So that gives you leverage in the owner-occupant world. So that's a real clear example and quite profound of how you leverage yourself and leverage your license to serve investors and related parties, in this case, owner-occupants. Okay? All right, that's one. Let's give one more example. Let's say you're working with a landlord, okay, someone who's buying rental properties. Matter of fact, let me just go down here to the chart, and this will make a lot more sense. All right, here we go. Unfortunately, it's not going to, actually, let me reduce this. Hang on one second. Let's do 75%. Okay, there we go. Now it's in full view. All right. So we discussed working with the flippers and getting the owner-occupant business as a result of working with the flippers. Now let's talk about the landlord, the person buying rental properties. So this person is buying a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex throughout the period of a year. Active, investors who are actively engaged in picking up rentals, at the peak of their production, will buy 9+ properties per year. Okay. As you imagine, I really like working with people who buy rentals because they also grow their portfolio. In any case, the natural extension, the natural leverage point is, of course, property management. In other words, these investors, as they accumulate properties, they're going to need the related service of property management. Okay? Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, well, Gary, how do I do that? I've never done that before. If you want to do it, go on to your member section online, and you can get the book, Turning Rental Problems into Real Estate Profits. It's a primer on managing properties. There is a training course for that, but what I want you to do right now is just focus on the concept, and once you grasp the concept by reading the book, if you want to do the training program, just let Beverly or me know, and we'll get you set up there. I want to make sure you're in production first, though. I want to make sure you're actually producing commissions and building a client base before we discuss any training program, right? For right now, just read the primer, the book, right? So the beautiful thing is, you're working with the landlords. You've got a natural leverage point to offer property management without going out and doing any more prospecting, because you already had the relationship. Okay, you just leverage your license to serve that relationship in one more form, which is the case, in this case, property management. Now, if that's not enough, the beautiful thing here is, I want you to write off to the left, do line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, all beside this property management box, okay? And here's the 4 ways you make money by managing properties for other people. The 4 main ways. There's other ways, but let's just talk about the first ones. Number 1 is, you obviously get fee income. You manage these properties, you generate fee income. You're charging a management fee, and the average should be around 10%. Now, a couple of really cool things is that 10% that you collect for managing the property comes to you first. In other words, the rents come to you. You're the property manager. You're going to get paid first. You're going to take 10%, and after you pay the other bills for the owner, if that's part of your relationship, you send the remainder back to the owner. So the bottom line is, you get paid first. You get your management fee off gross receipts. Don't ever, ever, ever agree to a relationship where your client says, hey, I want you to manage the property, but I want the rents to come to me, and I will pay you just like I pay the plumber and the repairman. Don't ever do that. Ever, ever, never, ever do that. You're the property manager. You set up an operations account. You set up an escrow account, and you receive all the rents coming in on behalf of the owner, and you take the management fees off of that, any costs for maintenance or repairs, and you send the remaining balance to the owner. Okay, that's how you should do that. So number 1 is, you get a fee. You get management fee coming in. You get fee income off gross receipts. Great way to have a business. All right, the second thing is this, though. Number 2, write the word tenant, because all of these tenants who are living in these properties that you're managing, from time to time, may want to move and become a first-time homebuyer. They want to eventually buy their own home. Maybe they're not a first-time homebuyer. Maybe they moved into an apartment because they went through a divorce or lost a job or got injured or something like that, and they want to get back on into the owner-occupant world. These folks could be a source of lead generation for people looking to buy their own properties to live in, i.e. owner-occupant transactions. So what I'm getting at is you first leverage a relationship with the landlord to buy more properties. Then you leverage that relationship to provide property management to them. And then within that relationship of managing the property and the ensuing relationship with the tenants, you get additional clients in the way of tenants looking to buy homes to fill up this box here. Now it gets better than that, okay? The reality is people who own rental properties from time to time will want to buy more rental properties or sell some of the ones they have. So that those two activities generate more commission income that feeds you back here. So you've got a point of leverage going back to you. It goes both ways, okay? That's the third way, number 3. Number 4 is the folks who do want to sell. Let's say you're in the market for buying your own properties. You're looking to invest for yourself. I would look no further than the properties that you're already managing. The owners who want to sell, from time to time, you're going to want to sell, and because you manage those properties, you've got the best view of the properties. You have the best, you're in the best position to understand the pros and cons of those particular properties. And more importantly, you can offer to purchase them directly from the owners. In other words, you're now feeding your own desire to invest for yourself. So essentially, 4 leverage points on top of the very first one that you already, because of the relationship you already had. So I want you guys to just pause for a second and see the power of what I'm talking about here. We're going to go over the others, and then we're going to wrap up by going over who is on your team. We're going to go over quite an exhaustive list on who's on your team. But let me drag the panel bar over real quick and see what kind of questions you have. So hang on one second while I'm doing that. Okay, let's see here. Actually, I think we're okay. Oh, Fossil, I was curious, did you get my emails? Hey, Fossil, I did see him when I got in today at the hotel. So I'll get to those when I get off of the webinar. Let's see, any other questions? I think we're good on the questions. Let me go back here just to make sure. Yeah, we're all good on questions. Okay, so we discussed landlords, we discussed flippers, we discussed property management, we discussed the fact that both flippers and property management could feed your owner-occupant business without you having to compete with every Tom, Dick, and Harry in town. Okay, so that's 4. Now let's talk about referrals. And this is easy because it's easy to understand. The fact is guys, you're going to get more referrals from your investors than you ever will get from owner-occupants. It's just a mathematical certainty because you have more interactions with your investors. You have repeat transactions. There's more FaceTime, if you will, between the two of you. And you have what we call front-of-mind presence. So when they're talking to their neighbors about, the neighbors asking them, hey, how is it that you're buying all these duplexes and fourplexes and flipping homes? They're going to say, oh, you got to call Fassel. Fassel's the one that gives me all the forms, the charts, the graphs, the tools, the calculators, the inventory, everything I need to be successful investing. I'm sure he'll do the same for you too. In fact, you should get an average of greater than 1 referral for every investor you have. Some investors won't give you any, but some investors will give you multiple referrals. On average, you should get at least 1 per investor client. That's hard to do with owner-occupants, guys, right? So in any case, that's referral income. And I actually built a whole business around this. I built a line of business completely just around generating referrals. In other words, I kept doing all this marketing, and I stopped serving owner-occupants directly. I would simply refer those out, okay? So not only did I have referral income coming in because my investors referred people to me, but I had referral income coming in because I sent clients, owner-occupant clients, to my fellow investors. So I had referral fee, I had referrals coming to me that generated commissions, and I had referral fees coming to me because I've referred business to other agents. It's the most amazing thing. Okay, let's talk about wholesaling real quick. Wholesaling is a different animal. It's actually you have to master the discipline of knowing what a good flip is, and you have to master the discipline of knowing what a good rental is, okay? Because in the wholesaling, you or your client are not actually buying the properties. You're actually selling the contract. So you get a property under contract and you sell the contract to another investor, not the property, but the contract. Then that other investor comes around and eventually buys the property that is under contract. The good news here is if you guys watched, there was a module we did on wholesaling a while back. Of course, there's a whole program on this. If you want to get the book, just go online, get the book online for free. You get the electronic version for free. If you want a printed version, you've got to go to Amazon and get that, and it does cost a few bucks. I think it's only like $10 or something. But if you want the electronic version, you can get it for free on the My Investment Services website. But the beautiful thing about wholesaling is if you do it correctly, you, the agent servicing wholesalers, you should be able to find inventory for your wholesalers. You should be able to find, in other words, you can do this by getting listings and have the wholesaler buy the listing. You can also find the buyers, okay, for the properties that the wholesaler is looking to wholesale, or the sales agreement that is, all right? Another way of generating business. There's actually multiple ways. I don't want to go into a lot of detail because we covered that recently, and I want you to go back over that module on wholesaling if you need more information on that. But it's a wonderful way to make income. All right, now the next thing is this. Two things. Let's just do this one first, and then we'll go to team building because we're going to wrap up on that. All right, you invest in yourself. One of the best things about working with investors is it puts you in a position to know what's happening in the world of flipping, what inventory is available, when it's available, where it's available, what types of properties are people actually buying to live in, okay? So you leverage from that knowledge. You leverage from the knowledge of working with people who buy rentals, the landlords. You know what areas are working, what areas are kind of troublesome, what types of properties are available. In other words, 2 to 4 units, or 5 to 9 units, or 10 to 19 units, or 20 units and above, whatever the case may be. All right, but all the while you're serving these people, these different groups of people, you're increasing your base of knowledge. You're becoming much more knowledgeable in the world of investing. And as you might imagine, you're generating multiple streams of income. Active income, passive income, passive income. So you're building up income that allows you to save the accumulated capital to make a down payment, and you gain knowledge so that when you do make a move to invest yourself, you're leveraging all these other activities to the highest form, which is you investing yourself. All right, everybody get that? Okay, we're going to talk about building teams next, but before we do, I just want to do a quick pause and make sure everybody's okay with what we've discussed so far. So let me slide my panel back over and see what kind of questions we have. Okay, this is Natasha. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Gary. What companies do you recommend to hire virtual assistants? Natasha, there is there's a webinar I did on this. I think it was back in August. So when you get your access to the membership site, go into the previous recordings on the database. And again, I think it was in August, and look for the one that talks about hiring virtual assistants. And I do give you a couple resources in that, all right, in that webinar. Also, I think we sent out a document attached to that recording. In fact, yes, we did. So the document was basically a rundown of that webinar, what that webinar was about. It gave you some charts, some information on employee taxes, all that kind of stuff, and also gave you, I think, 3 different resources to hire virtual assistants. So Natasha, look for that. If you have any trouble at all, just call me or text me or email me, and I'll make sure to point you in the right direction. But good question, because you're going to need a virtual assistant at a minimum. In fact, as soon as you start adding your second stream of income, one of the first things you're going to do, guys, is hire an admin person. It doesn't have to be a virtual assistant. It could be someone local to you. It could be a family member, friend, what have you. But if it's a virtual assistant, you've got to be able to delegate and articulate and communicate the tasks that you want them to complete clearly and effectively. And then we cover that in that webinar, Natasha. So, okay, so Natasha asks, the next question is, thank you, what tasks should virtual assistants handle, and what's the best way to train them remotely? The good news is we actually cover that also in that webinar, Natasha, but essentially the bottom line is this. Oh, hey, Natasha, Roger just found it. Roger Newell says it's the one dated August 25th, 2016. So look for August 25th, 2016, and that's the webinar that talks about virtual assistants. But back to your question, you always want to delegate the tasks that are easiest to identify, describe, and explain in the shortest amount of time. In other words, how to fill out a sales agreement, for example. It's the same process over and over and over again. The only difference is consumers' elections of contingencies may be different, but essentially something like that. Or let's say you're going to use the letter campaign. You can have them do all the signing and stuffing envelopes and things like that, or you can have them. There's a number of things you can do, but essentially what you're looking for, Natasha, are the ones that are the easiest to identify, describe, and articulate. In other words, describe to the person you're looking to delegate to. Short, simple tasks, because you're going to have to measure their results, and you don't want to give them more and more tasks until they've actually mastered the current task you gave them, and you can measure their results to know that you want to keep working with them. It's a whole science behind that. Okay, let's see here. By the way, thanks, Roger, for doing that. Okay, guys, I'm going to jump into team building, all right? I tell you what, when you get to this point, this is probably one of the most critical junctures in the growth of your business. And what happens here is, let's say this is a line, okay? You're going across here, and you're getting commission, get a commission, get a commission, get a commission. You're growing horizontally, all right? You're never actually going to be able to grow vertically until you start building a team, because growing vertically is a result of you delegating individual responsibilities, okay? You're basically multiplying yourself in a number of ways. So briefly, let's do this. What I want to do is first start with a virtual assistant, since we just brought it up. And what I'll tell you is, this is going to make you feel a whole lot better. You don't have to hire a virtual assistant full-time. You can hire a virtual assistant for like 2 hours per week if you want. And I highly recommend that. So Natasha, what you want to do is think of, okay, what can a person do for me in 2 hours? What task can I assign that they can accomplish in a 2-hour window? And you assign that task. And you might have them work for you for 2 hours a week for maybe 4 weeks. And all of a sudden you realize you've had 8 more hours available to you to be in production. Okay? And maybe it allowed you to get another commission coming in. If that's the case, you might want to consider doubling this person's hours to 4 hours, or maybe go all the way to 10 hours per week. In other words, 2 hours per week to 2 hours per day, Monday through Friday, equals 10 hours. Okay, so if you can give them 10 hours worth of assignments, by all means do it. Okay, but what that does is allow you to start growing vertically, all right, because you're stacking on, you're adding, you're delegating more and more responsibilities to this person, which frees up more and more of your time to be in production. So assistant, whether it's virtual or in person, like a personal assistant, is always the first hire. You can't get away from that. And by the way, I'm going to give you a book right now that you should all read. The book is titled The E-Myth, the letter E as an elephant, dash myth, M-Y-T-H, by a guy named Michael Gerber. It's an excellent book. It's considered the Bible for entrepreneurs to help you grow and expand your business, okay? So I highly recommend you get that off of Amazon. Really, it's inexpensive. There's been out for quite a while now. Awesome book. Now, also, if you're a Keller Williams agent, most of you are Keller Williams agents, we have a lot of material on how to build a team. We're pretty serious about that, all right? I want to go over one more hire before we jump into who are some of the other team members that you'll need relative to your investors. The next person you're going to want to hire, guys, is a showing agent, a showing assistant. Okay, now if you notice, I didn't use the term buyer's agent, and the reason is, in the owner-occupant world, when you build a team, you typically have buyer agents and listing agents, and you have to split your commissions with those people. The buyer's agent goes out, runs people around town showing properties. They decide they want to buy one, you get them under contract, you close the property, you get a commission, and you got to give that buying agent typically, let's say 40% after your broker split. Okay, you keep 40, they keep 40, you keep 20 for additional marketing and advertising. Okay, basically infrastructure. The thing I like about a showing agent, and again, this is not a buyer's agent. A showing agent is an agent that you simply pay a per door fee. Okay, $50 per door, $25 per door, depending on where you are in the country. If you're in a very expensive area like Vancouver, British Columbia, New York City, Washington D.C., L.A., San Francisco, you might want to give them $50 per door. If you're in a lower priced area, like Dayton, Ohio, for example, you might want to give them $25 per door, and you might set up an afternoon or a morning for them to open the doors on 6 properties. That means they're going to get, if they're making $25 per door, they're going to make $150 in probably a 3-hour time frame. If you're, of course, in one of the more expensive areas, you're paying $50 per door, yes, you'll pay out $300 for that afternoon of opening doors. What the bottom line is you don't have to split your commissions with showing agents. You're simply paying them a per door fee. Now, you can do this much more easily with owner occupants. Very difficult to do. You can do showing agents with investors. If you try to do a showing agent with an owner occupant, what you'll find happening is that owner occupants often are looking at way too many properties, and you might be paying a lot more in open door fees than you would have if you just made them a buyer's agent. So buyer's agent for owner occupants, showing agent for investors. Okay, and you retain all the commission. You pay out a per door fee and you keep the commission. So let me go back here and see if we got any questions here. Virtualist, okay, this is Maria. Maria says, okay, if you're handwriting your letters as you suggested in our class, now can a virtual assistant help you unless you were speaking of the letter for your initial packet? So Maria, yeah, if your virtual assistant has neat handwriting, they absolutely can handwrite the letter for you. In fact, if you're handwriting your letters, I would certainly delegate that as soon as you're able to, because it's going to take a lot of time. However, the return call rate is definitely higher on the handwritten letters. So maybe handwrite them yourself until you get your first check coming in, and then you can hire a virtual assistant to do the handwriting for you. You can even have them do a whole bunch of them, okay, and send them back to you in mail, in international mail, and then you have someone locally send them from a local address. Well, I've seen people do that too. But the answer is yes, you can definitely have them handwrite letters for you. It doesn't have to be in your own handwriting. Okay, oh, you're welcome, Maria. And Natasha is saying with a showing. So I think you must be referring to a set. So yes, Natasha, you pay them a per door fee to show individual properties to your investor, Saturday morning or Thursday afternoon, whatever the case is. So you're the rainmaker. You're back at the office, establishing the relationships, negotiating offers and so forth, and you have your showing agent go out there running around in the car opening up doors. So that's the most simplest form of a team. You, an admin person, in this case the example is a virtual assistant, but essentially an admin person, and the third person is a showing agent. And once you have that set up, you're now officially a team. You can grow that team by adding additional showing agents and maybe adding a listing specialist, things like that. But what I want you to consider is this. Let's say you're in New York City. You're in the Bronx, you're in Queens, you're in Brooklyn, wherever you are. Okay, very highly densely populated. I mean, you got 2 million plus people for each of those 3 boroughs. All right. It'd be very easy for you to set up teams based on function. So you would set up one team that goes out and works with the landlords. You would set up another team that goes out and works with the flippers. You set up another team that goes out and works with the owner occupants. Another team that goes out to do property management. You own it and they run it for you. Another team that works for wholesalers, okay? So instead of you having multiple teams and multiple market centers, set up one team with a core function of doing your bookkeeping and your marketing, for example, and then the function teams are set up by function: owner occupants, property management, flipping, wholesaling, and landlords. Okay, and when they're more highly focused that way, what happens is you're operating more efficiently. There's no duplication of effort. There's no way the flippers are duplicating what the landlords are doing, and vice versa. That's the point here. Set up your teams based on function. Okay, so I wanted to give that to you as an example because Natasha, sounds like you're thinking about that based on your questions, and I'm proud that you're doing that. If you're ready to do that, just call me, email me whenever you're ready, text me, and we'll have a strategy session just on that. In any case, back to what I was saying before. Let's say you've got your initial team set up. You're operating more efficiently. You've got a showing agent going out there running around. You're basically inside. You might want to hire an inside sales agent, by the way, as your next move. That really frees you up to be out there doing the promoting, doing the workshops and things like that. And your inside sales agent's taking all the phone calls. Okay, once you have that going, let's now move into the next part. Here's what's going to happen. At some point, if it hasn't already, your investors, your landlords, your flippers, they're going to ask you, who can I use to help me buy more rentals? Who can I use to help me flip more homes? Not agent-wise, but in terms of service providers, lenders, bankers, insurance guys, inspectors, roofers, flooring people, cabinetry people, electricians, plumbers. Okay, all of that you should be establishing. Even if you haven't worked with all these different folks, you definitely want to join your local RIA group. And so Natasha, you might want to join, I think we might have talked about this. Teresa Martin runs the Long Island RIA group and the Manhattan RIA group up there. She's in a training program, by the way, so along with her team leader and her OP. Of course, she's an attorney, all right? So she would be a very good person to have on your team. Not that she's working for you, but a person like that, you want to keep their contact information available so you can refer them to your clients, to your investors, all right? So in any case, let's go through some examples here. First one is bankers, lenders. Man, you definitely want to have a lender that you can rely on regularly to do investor loans. Every market center has a lender on board. If you don't have one, the one that we put on our community site is Elizabeth Fregale. She's with the commercial lending group up there we talked about before. She was on last month, by the way. We had her on the webinar live. They do commercial loans all over the country, all 50 states, but not in Canada. I don't think they can refer transactions to Canada. So if you're from Canada, still go to the community site, look up Elizabeth, and she'll give you a referral for a lender in Canada who does these type of loans. So bankers, number one. And you want to have multiple lenders, by the way. I use the terms banker and lender interchangeably, but multiple lenders, okay, in your area. I like to have as many as 5. And the reason is they change your loan programs from time to time, but you need to always have somebody available who's still actively making investor loans. Okay, another one is an inspector. You should become familiar with a couple that not housing inspectors like from the city, but private inspectors who will do inspectors for your clients when they're looking to buy a home when they've elected the inspection contingency. Okay, you want an inspector that's good, but not a deal killer, right? You don't want somebody who's going to squash every single deal you come up with. You definitely want a plumber. You definitely want an electrician. And one of the benefits of joining your local investor group, I like the RIA group, Real Estate Investors of America. Every area has them, okay? The electricians, the plumbers, the roofers / framer. A lot of times framers will also do roofing and roofers will also do framing. Okay. Now, some of these guys, let's just pause here real quick for a second. Sometimes plumbers and electricians um, are required to do certain types of work. So in other words, if you're just simply doing a real light handyman type job, like replacing an outlet or a light fixture, no big deal. Most handymen can do that and handle it correctly. But if you're adding a new circuit to a circuit board, for example, be aware that most municipalities require a certified electrician, a licensed certified electrician, to do that work. And they also require them to be bonded and insured. Okay? That's true sometimes also with plumbers. So what I'm getting at here is you want to write this down. Let's say you go to your local RIA meeting and you ask for people, hey, who would you recommend for plumbing? Who would you recommend for electricians? One of the first things you want to ask those guys is, are you bonded and are you insured? And ask them for proof. They should be able to give you a copy of their insurance, okay? And also if they're bonded, they give you a copy of that. Matter of fact, they're supposed to do that every year on a calendar date. All right, so electricians, plumbers, roofers slash framers, also carpenters, people who can do cabinetry and also trim work. A good carpenter can do cabinetry and trim work too. You definitely want to have one of those on your board, in your team. You also want to have someone who can do flooring very effectively, tile floor, carpeting, laminate. You want, and by the way, I like the family-owned operations. Sometimes you can get really good deals going with the big outfits, but sometimes you get really cheap stuff. I like working with the mom and pop shops because they still have access to the same suppliers, but you can also strike a deal with them to say, look, I'm going to be giving you a lot of business. If you can knock off 5 or 10% of all the jobs I give you, my clients and I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, that goes for flooring, it goes for the roofers, the plumbers, electricians, carpenters, goes for all of them. Same thing with painters, which is the next group. Painters, here's the funny thing about painters. There are a lot of them out there, and there's almost no credentials, no training anybody needs to go to and meet to be a good painter. It's basically an art. It's a skill that's developed over time. And what I realized is this. I used to go for the person who gave me the lowest bid when it came to painting because my philosophy was, well, how complicated can it be? It's paint, right? Well, guess what? I learned a lot of valuable lessons. You get what you pay for. So if you're going to go pay cheap, you're going to probably get cheap results. You know, not such a neat, even job, inferior paint, trim work that's been overpainted, things like that. So you're better off getting a good painter who has a great reputation, and not only that, they generally will do the work a lot faster. They're really good, and they move a lot faster because they want to get as many jobs in as they can. So painter's another one. Definitely a handyman, just a good old-fashioned general purpose handyman, somebody that can do light plumbing, like change a faucet, light electrical, like change an outlet. Okay, they can handle painting, they can handle some cabinetry repair, maybe they can replace windows and doors, things like that. A good handyman is worth their weight in gold, and don't be afraid to pay them for what they're worth, because there's a lot of fly-by-night guys. By the way, the handyman, I like to see them having their own insurance also, in addition, of course, to their own vehicle and their own tools. You want them to be insured. They don't necessarily need to be bonded, but they definitely should be insured. Okay, next group is lawn care and snow removal, depending on where you are in North America. If you're in Florida and Southern California, yep, you might see snow once in your lifetime. But if you're up in Canada, New York, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, yeah, you're going to see some snow. Now, again, same thing here applies here that applied to the handyman. Don't go for the cheapest service available because you often will pay a dear price for that. Go for the best provider with the combination of the best service and the best price, all right? Also, they should be insured also. Make sure they're all insured, okay? So lawn care and snow removal. Next one is insurance. You definitely want a good insurance broker on your team because your clients are going to ask you. It's going to come up eventually. You might as well be able to offer them a good solution. Now with insurance, I like to offer a couple alternatives, just like with the bankers, at least 3, if not as many as 5, but give them a couple different providers to choose from. I like the insurance brokers because they can get the best product and the best price. If you go with somebody who works exclusively for Allstate, for example, that's all you're going to get. Go with an independent broker who represents multiple insurance companies, okay? Worth their weight in gold. Okay, another one is an attorney. And hopefully you will very rarely need an attorney, but when you do need one, it sure is nice to have one on your team. Okay, it doesn't cost anything to have their contact information. When I was really heavily into production and had all those businesses, I had an attorney on retainer. I just paid him a regular fee, and then I got really good deals on things like court hearings and chasing after people and so forth. So I paid him a retainer just to give me a certain amount of time every month. All right, next one is a bookkeeper. You definitely want a good bookkeeper. You will need an accountant to do your taxes at some point, but for right now, at a minimum, you need a bookkeeper. And I suggest you use QuickBooks, by the way, especially if you're first starting out. But use QuickBooks and have a bookkeeper do your bookkeeping for you. Okay, you don't have to pay a lot of money, but it is a sensitive subject, and I like working with people who have a proven track record of service and reliability and knowledge. Okay, so they're the ones that are going to be entering your debits and credits on your bookkeeping system, reconciling the accounts, your statement from your checking account with the online system. They can take care of tax payments, quarterly tax payments, for example. They can send out the annual W-2s and W-9s, all those things. They can take care of all that stuff, all right? And that's the kind of, you definitely want to get referrals on these guys. Same thing with bookkeepers, and you might get lucky and find a good bookkeeper through your local RIA group too. Okay, the last one I have here is an accountant. And a good accountant is worth their weight in gold, just like a good attorney. And they're going to, number one, they'll be doing your tax returns, okay? Don't go to H&R Block and those guys. I'm not knocking them. I'm not making any commentary on H&R Block. What I'm telling you is if you find a tax accountant who specializes in investment properties, your clients will be thanking you, and eventually you'll be grateful too, because you're going to own your own properties at some point. But also on your own personal tax return, if you're building teams, okay, you might have a little bit more of a complex tax return. So the bottom line is this, guys. If you're going to be recommending these people on a regular basis, I highly encourage you to interview them just like they were going to be your own employee, and ask them to provide their most recent credit report. Okay? I'm going to pause here because I think I might have just ruffled some feathers. Yes, you want to ask for these contractors, make sure, a number of things. You want to make sure that they don't have a lot of bad stuff on their credit report, all right? Because if they have bad stuff on their credit report, it could spell trouble. Okay, it could be a challenge for you down the road. So always make sure you check these people out completely. And you want to make sure there's no outstanding warrants for them. There's no criminal background, any of that kind of stuff. Check them out thoroughly, because you're going to be recommending these folks to your clients. Okay. You also want to check multiple references. So what I do is, especially with the contractors, I'll tell them, hey, can you give me pictures, before and after pictures of some of the jobs you worked on before? And I'll let them submit that to me for my review. You also want to check out references. So if they name 2 references, call both of those references and ask those references if there's anybody else they can think of whom you should call. And I want you to pause on that for a second and write that down. When you're interviewing people and you have them write down their references, when you speak to those references, also ask those references for any other reference that you think might be valuable or have more information. So you're basically going a layer deeper. This is really critical when it comes to the contractors, because these folks are going in these people's homes. All right, you want to make sure they're insured and bonded and they get a clean record. Okay, when it comes to the bookkeepers and so forth, yeah, you're not so much concerned about that, although you should be, but those folks are not going into your clients' properties. Okay, the latter group, excuse me, the former group definitely is. So you definitely want to go through all of that thorough due diligence, checking them out. And now you've got a good corral of service providers that you can offer to your investors. In other words, you can recommend these folks because they're proven entities. They got a great reputation. You check them out, and what a great service to provide to your clients. So now what I want to do is kind of go back full circle. We talked tonight about leveraging your activities to generate multiple streams of income, which leads to team building. That was the second thing. That's you building your own team for production purposes. And the third thing is okay, you're going to have a team. You're going to have all these people that I just described there because you can recommend them to your investors. And if you're really savvy and you form a property management company, now you've already got a lot of people working for the property management company on an independent contractor basis who you've already vetted. You've already interviewed and checked out and screened plumbers, electricians, roofers, you name it. You've already got them. HVAC people, which by the way is part of the group. I don't think I mentioned HVAC, but it's definitely part of one of those people that you want to have on your team. So just remember, just put heating, cooling, or HVAC in your notes. Okay, let me slide my control panel back over and look for questions. I just gave y'all a real handful there. Okay, let's see, Natasha, with the showing agent, should they be licensed? Yes, they should, Natasha. So wherever you are, whether it's US or Canada, whenever somebody goes out representing the brokerage company and opening up doors for other people's properties to show properties to your clients, you definitely, they have to be licensed, okay? Let's see. Oh, that's right, Natasha. You used to be Teresa's operations director. Oh, by the way, I'm coming back up there in March. We got delayed from December to March, but I'll be up there speaking at 4 or 5 market centers up there and going to Teresa's RIA group. Yeah, that got changed. December 9th got changed. I'm sorry, Natasha. That message should have gone out. That's going to be now in March, and we'll definitely go out and have dinner. So get ready. Make sure you're hungry. Okay. And when we let's see. Yes, we definitely have to set up strategy session because I need to build a team, determine best initial. Yeah. So give me a call, Natasha. Text me, call me, email me, and let's set you up. All right. Okay, let's see here. Natasha says there is a deal for QuickBooks Self-Employed. It's a streamlined app for income and expense management. There's a 50% off per month discount for 12 months. Go to realtor.org/intuit. Well, thanks, Natasha, for doing that. Yeah, they actually have a cloud-based version, which is what I use. It's very inexpensive. And the reason I like the cloud-based version is I no longer have all that data floating around on my computers or my bookkeeper's computers. It's all on the cloud. She can process from anywhere she is, and I can access the information from anywhere I am. How do you like that? Okay. This is Wanda. Wanda says, looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Oh, Wanda, that's great. Yeah, I'll be there Thursday at 1 o'clock. I'm going to tour Biltmore in the morning, but I'll be there around 12:30. So let's catch up and have a little powwow. By the way, Wanda, you should have received the call from Matthew Letter. He's from Asheville. He's working in Charleston, South Carolina now. And also I sent it out to my mastermind group, and I think one of the guys there was going to call you too. So let me know when you see me Thursday how that went. Okay, I'll follow up. Did not receive. I'll follow up with Matthew then. Okay, guys, that was pretty much my subject for tonight. I hope this helps open up your vision of what's possible for you in this world of investing and working with investors. Very, very easy to leverage yourself in your activities to generate multiple streams of income. Very easy to leverage yourself and delegate the responsibilities so that you can grow vertically and not just horizontally. But let's take it one step at a time. I want everybody to think about hiring a virtual assistant for about 2 hours per week, and you can do it for about $5 an hour. So literally for $10 a week, you could have somebody work for you for 2 hours. Just give them small, simple tasks in the beginning. Get used to doing that, and then start thinking about the groups of people we just mentioned in the latter part of the class tonight, the webinar, excuse me, of who you can identify and get their contact information for, and be able to be ready, willing, and able to recommend them to your clients. Very, very important. They will love you for it. And plus, you may use these guys later on for property management or your own investing. So, okay, guys, great call tonight. Great questions. We will see you all next Tuesday, a week from tonight, actually. I will be in Washington, D.C., which is East Coast time. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and a beautiful weekend. And if I don't get to see you next Tuesday on the webinar, I hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving, and God bless you and all your families. Okay, you guys, take care. Bye-bye.